Chidinma had always been a girl with dreams. But those dreams were quickly overshadowed by the harsh realities of life. Living in the heart of Lagos, she spent her days trying to balance school and caring for her sick mother, who had been battling a terminal illness for over 2 years. Her father had passed away when she was young, leaving her with no other support. The hospital bills were piling up, and her mother's condition seemed to worsen by the day. Chidinma felt like she was running out of options. She had a talent for dancing, a skill she had nurtured since childhood, but there was little opportunity to showcase it. One evening, as she walked past a popular nightclub, a thought crossed her mind. What if I could dance there? The money, it could help with my mom's treatment. With a heart full of uncertainty, she walked into the club the following night. The music, the flashing lights, the crowd. It was intoxicating. But Chidinma wasn't here for the fun. She was here to survive. She met the manager, who was quick to offer her a spot as a backup dancer. However, there was a catch. She needed to wear a mask during her performances. Chidinma hesitated. Why the mask? She asked. But the manager only smiled and explained. This is a safe place for anonymity. The audience will never know who you are. And trust me, it helps with the mystery. That night, as she danced under the dim lights with the mask concealing her face, Chidinma felt liberated. She was no longer just the girl struggling to make ends meet. She was a mysterious performer, captivating the crowd with her moves and the air of secrecy around her. As weeks passed, Chidinma found herself torn between two worlds. By day, she was the dutiful daughter, caring for her mother, attending classes and working part-time at a small grocery store to help with bills. But by night, she transformed into a captivating dancer at the club, her identity hidden behind a mask. The money she earned was substantial, but it wasn't enough to pay for all the medical treatments her mother needed. She had made a promise to herself. She would do whatever it took to make sure her mother didn't suffer. Her pride wasn't important anymore. At night, she would lose herself in the rhythm, feeling every beat of the music. She had learned to dance in ways that didn't just entertain but mesmerized the audience. But not everyone was there just for the show. A regular patron of the club, a wealthy businessman named Tony, had begun to notice her. He wasn't like the other men who came and went. Tony was different, calm, reserved and always alone. His eyes would follow her every movement, and though his face was often hidden behind dark sunglasses, Chidinma felt the intensity of his gaze. One night, after a particularly breathtaking performance, Tony approached the stage. "You're a rare talent," he said, his voice smooth like velvet. Chidinma, still panting from the dance, gave a polite smile. "Thank you," she said, keeping her face hidden behind the mask. Tony's curiosity was piqued. There was something about her, the grace, the mystery, that drew him in. But he didn't know why she wore a mask, and for some reason, he wanted to find out. Tony's visits to the club became more frequent. Each time, he found himself more intrigued by the masked dancer who stole his attention. He wasn't just captivated by her performance. There was something deeper, something that connected them in ways he couldn't explain. He had the world at his feet, money, success, luxury, but loneliness had followed him for years. It wasn't that he didn't have friends or acquaintances. It was the feeling of emptiness that never seemed to leave him. The club was a place for fun, but Tony had grown tired of the shallow interactions. He yearned for something real, something that he couldn't buy. But Chidinma's identity remained a mystery. One evening, after a performance, Tony waited outside the club, hoping to catch a glimpse of her without the mask. He watched as she walked into the alley where the dancers usually gathered. Without thinking, he followed her, wanting to know more. But Chidinma was aware of his presence, and quickly turned, almost as if she had expected him. "I don't know who you are, but you don't belong here," she said, her voice steady but with a hint of vulnerability. Tony was taken aback, but stood his ground. "I just want to know who you are," he replied. Chidinma shook her head, her face hidden by the shadows of the alley. "I can't let you in. This is who I am now," she whispered before walking away, leaving Tony standing in the dark. Days went by, and Tony couldn't shake the thoughts of the masked dancer. Who was she? Why did she hide her face? The questions gnawed at him. He needed to know more, to understand why she seemed so different from the others. So he did something bold. He visited the club not just as a guest, but as someone with an interest. He spoke to the manager, offering a large sum of money in exchange for a meeting with the mysterious dancer. At first, the manager hesitated but eventually agreed. The meeting was set for the following week. When Chidinma walked into the private room where Tony waited, her heart raced. She had no idea why he wanted to meet her. But the look in his eyes told her it was something serious. "Why do you hide your face?" Tony asked, his voice filled with curiosity and concern. Chidinma hesitated. "I don't want anyone to know who I am. There are things about my life, things I can't share." Tony nodded, understanding the weight of her words. He didn't press further. Instead, he offered her something she hadn't expected. "Let me help you. You're clearly doing this for a reason. Your dancing, your talent. It's worth more than this club." Chidinma was taken aback. "Help me," she whispered. "How?" Tony smiled. "I can pay for your mother's treatment. All of it. You don't need to wear the mask or hide. Let me help you. Let me be there for you." Chidinma stood there stunned. This was everything she had been working for. The money to save her mother. The chance to live a life beyond the club. And yet, she couldn't shake the feeling of doubt. Why was Tony offering her so much? What did he want in return? "I don't know if I can accept this," she said softly, her voice trembling. "I don't even know who you are." Tony took a step closer, his eyes warm. "I'm just a man who wants to make a difference in someone's life. I don't want anything from you, Chidinma. You don't owe me anything, but I want you to know that you're not alone." The sincerity in his voice softened Chidinma's heart, but she couldn't help but feel suspicious. Was he offering help out of kindness, or was there something else at play? "I don't know how to trust anyone anymore," she admitted. "I've been doing this all on my own for so long." Tony nodded. "I understand, but sometimes we all need a little help." Chidinma couldn't help but feel conflicted. She was grateful for his offer, but afraid of what accepting it would mean. Could she trust him with the one thing that mattered most, her mother's life? Over the next few days, Chidinma wrestled with her decision. She knew she couldn't keep dancing forever. Her body was growing tired, and her mother's condition was deteriorating. But the idea of accepting help from a stranger, especially a man like Tony, felt too good to be true. She decided to take a chance. She called Tony and agreed to meet him. She needed to see if she could trust him. When she arrived at his office, Tony's face lit up. "Chidinma," he said softly, his voice filled with emotion. "I'm so glad you're here." For the first time, Chidinma allowed herself to be vulnerable. She looked him in the eye. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. "You don't need to," Tony replied. "I just want you to know that you're safe now. Your mother will get the treatment she deserves. And as for you, you don't need to hide anymore." Chidinma felt a weight lift off her shoulders. For the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to feel hopeful. With Tony's help, Chidinma's life took a turn for the better. Her mother's condition improved with the treatment, and she no longer had to worry about where the next meal would come from. She started spending more time with her mother, and less time at the club. But the most unexpected thing happened. She began to develop feelings for Tony. He had been there for her when no one else had, offering not just money, but also his time and compassion. They spent hours talking, getting to know each other, and slowly, Chidinma realized that the loneliness she had felt for so long was no longer a part of her life. Tony, too, found himself falling for her. He had been lonely for so long, and in Chidinma, he found not just a beautiful dancer, but a woman of strength, resilience. As weeks passed, Chidinma and Tony's bond grew stronger. They shared everything, stories, dreams, fears, and slowly, they became more than just a businessman and his benefactor. They were partners, friends, and eventually something more. Tony had fallen in love with Chidinma's spirit, her determination, and her love for her family. And Chidinma, despite her initial hesitation, had found herself falling for the man who had changed her life. One evening, as they sat together on the balcony of his penthouse, Tony turned to her with a serious expression. "Chidinma, I've been thinking. I don't want you to go back to that life. I want us to build a future together." Chidinma looked at him, her heart racing. "What are you saying, Tony?" "I'm saying, I want you with me, not as a dancer, but as my partner, in every sense of the word." Tears filled Chidinma's eyes. She had never imagined a future like this. One filled with love, security, and the promise of a life she had always dreamed of. The road ahead wasn't always smooth. Chidinma struggled with feelings of guilt and fear, afraid that she wasn't deserving of the love and support Tony offered. But Tony remained patient, always reminding her that they were in this together. Their relationship was tested when Chidinma's mother's health took a turn for the worse. It was a difficult time, but Tony stood by her side, helping her navigate the tough decisions. And in those moments of vulnerability, Chidinma knew that no matter what, she had found something real. In the end, Chidinma found her true freedom, not through the mask she had worn to survive, but through the love and trust she shared with Tony. Together, they faced the challenges life threw their way, building a life filled with love, hope, and the promise of a better tomorrow. And as for the mask, it was no longer a symbol of anonymity, but a reminder of how far Chidinma had come. She had once danced in the shadows, but now she danced in the light. And this time, she did it for herself, and for the man who loved her.